Well, this is it. The Browns play their final game of the 2024 season. The bad news? No more football for 8 months. But the good news? Well, at least we don't have to watch this train wreck every week. We finally made it all the way to week 18. It's been a long 18 weeks, but here we are, 3-13, disappointment and agony. But hey, at least we have a chance at the number 1 pick, I suppose. The Browns face the Ravens in Baltimore for a game in which Bet365 currently has us as the minus 20 point underdogs. That's right, a plus 20 spread. I can't even say it with a straight face. I think that's the biggest I've ever seen for an NFL game. For context, the Browns were never more than a 13.5 point underdog during the 0-16 season in 2017. So not exactly the biggest vote of confidence from the bookies. It's almost as if we're starting Bailey Zappi this week. Oh wait, we are. That's right, we finally reached the big 40. But instead of birthdays, I mean starting quarterback since 1999. Update the jersey, just an insane statistic. When you think about it, it is just insane. The second closest on that list is the Bears with 30. That's a whopping 25% less than the Browns. We'll find our saviour one day, guys. It's easy to see why the spread is so high. The Browns have 3 wins compared to the Ravens' 11. The Browns have one of the worst offenses in the NFL, whilst the Ravens have one of the best. The Browns are starting Bailey Zappi at quarterback. The Ravens have, one of the MVP favourites starting at quarterback. And finally, the Browns are missing plenty of key players and are quite clearly not too concerned about winning, whilst the Ravens have an AFC North title and a home playoff game to play for. So yeah, I get it. To be honest, it would be the most Browns thing ever for them to somehow win this game. But, and I don't think I've ever said this before, I think I would rather that they didn't. And I'm sure a lot of you would probably agree with me. Now, I've said on this channel before, I'm not usually a proponent of tanking, unless there's literally an Andrew Luck or, Victor Wembanyama waiting in the draft. I don't think, the potential benefits of tanking outweigh the losing culture that it builds within an organization. I don't think any dynasty in the NFL or even the NBA really was built on tanking. And even if I wanted to tank, I could never actively root for my favorite team to lose a game. Maybe it's a British thing. I don't know. I've just never been able to do it. But with that being said, this is the first Browns game in my fandom where I've genuinely considered wanting them to lose. I mean, what is the difference between finishing the season with 3 wins versus 4? Not really any at all. But there's a pretty big difference between a top 3 pick and the 8th pick in the draft. And also, why the fuck would I want to hand the Steelers the AFC North title? Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with Miles on this one. Let's just lose this game, man. As I'm sure you all probably know by now, a loss would not only secure the Browns a top 3 pick, but would also give them a path at the number 1 pick in the draft this year. What does that path look like? A Browns loss, obviously, is the first thing that is needed, as well as a Titans and Patriots win. Now, is that somewhat of a stretch? Maybe. But it's certainly a possibility. The Titans are playing at home against the Texans and are actually 1.5 point favourites in this game currently. Why, you might ask? Well, not only will the Texans, most likely be resting their starters, but the Titans will also be wearing their Houston Oilers throwbacks against Houston. They have destiny on their side. And the Patriots are playing the Bills in New England. They aren't favoured in this game like the Titans are, as I'm sure you would expect them not to be. But the Bills will also most likely be resting their starters in this game, and it is in New England. If there is any team that is going to win a random game that they don't need to, it's probably the Patriots. So there's quite a lot on the line for both teams in this one. As I said, the Ravens have an AFC North title to lock up. They're fourth since 2018. And the Browns have a potential number one pick to play for. Well, or not to play for. I'm not really sure how to describe it. Complete opposite ends of the spectrum for both teams and both fan bases. But unfortunately, that's something that's been far too familiar since the Ravens entered the league. After stealing our team. I fucking hate you, Art Modell. But hey, it could be worse. It could have been one of the previous 3 years when we didn't even have our first round pick. I must admit, I thought these years were past us, but here we are. So why not go all the way and get that number one pick and then do everything that we can to make sure that a season like this one doesn't happen again. So the injury report for this game, quite a lot of guys on here for the Browns, as you would expect, with it being the last game of the season. They have nothing to play for. Anyone that has any slight nagging injury, lingering injury, there's absolutely no point in playing them in this game. So, most guys that have been ruled out or listed as questionable, maybe if there was a playoff spot on the line, they could have played. But as I said, what's the point, risking further injury when you're 3 and 13. So first and foremost, running back Jerome Ford with an ankle injury, tight end David Njoku with a knee injury, and running back Pierre Strong Jr. With a concussion have all been added onto injured reserve ahead of this season finale. So obviously they're all out for this game. Dalvin Tomlinson was initially ruled as questionable for this game. He has been downgraded to out. Linebacker Jordan Hicks has been ruled out of this game with a concussion. Cornerback Cam Mitchell has been listed as questionable for this game. Defensive end Obo Onkoronkwo. I butcher that every time, I think, but I promise I try. He has been listed as questionable for this game with a knee injury. Denzel Ward is obviously been ruled out of this game, something we know already that was announced during the week. He's been ruled out with that shoulder injury, not a concussion like I've seen a few people tweeting about. That is the shoulder injury. As I said, why play Denzel in this game if he has a lingering injury? Absolutely no point risking it. And then finally, tight end Blake Whiteheart has been listed as questionable with a knee injury. Quarterback Jameis Winston has been listed as questionable with possible tanking. And Michael Woods, wide receiver, has been listed as questionable with a knee injury. So that's the Browns side, injuries for this game. And then for the Ravens, no way near as bad as the Browns. As I said, when you've got a team that's playing for the AFC North and a home playoff game, any lingering injury or slight nagging injury, you're going to play through compared to a Browns team that is not playing for that. So only 4 designations for the Ravens in this game. Cornerback Amor Davis has been ruled out with his hamstring injury. Running back Justice Hill has been ruled out with a concussion/illness. Tight end Kohler has been ruled as questionable for this game with a forearm injury. I'll be totally honest, didn't even know this player existed, but he's listed as questionable. And finally, guard Makari has been listed as questionable as well. So that's the Ravens designations for this game. As I said, not quite as many as the Browns, but hey, 2 teams playing for completely different things. It's expected. My 3 keys to victory for this game. Number 1, hope that the Ravens players don't turn up to the game. Now, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure that the NFL rulebook does state that if a team fails to attend a scheduled game, then they are disqualified. So the Browns would be forfeited the win without even having to put their pads on. So that's number 1. If that fails, then my second key to victory is to have one of the defensive tackles sneak under the Ravens center's legs and tie Lamar Jackson's shoelaces together on every play. Now this one is pretty risky. Not only could the Browns be called for a neutral zone infraction on every play if they are caught, but I'm not actually 100% convinced it would even be enough to win anyway. You know, Derrick Henry is pretty good at football, and I've seen Lamar Jackson do things on a football field that would make a great performance with tied shoelaces. Not even that surprising. But hey, we've got to try what we can. And my third and final key to victory, if all else fails, the Browns can always just sneak into the stadium tonight, tear up the field, cover the field in some kind of residue. Now, this wouldn't necessarily result in a win, but it would prevent a loss. No field means no game, and no game means the Browns can't get blown out by 50. I've got nothing, man. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and feed you nonsense. The Browns are 20-point underdogs in this game for a reason. Now, with this being the final game of the season, it does beg the question, is this the last dance for some of the guys? You know, many fans believe that a rebuild is necessary this off-season. And the Browns have a lot of good players in their prime that are ready to win now. Guys like Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, David Njoku. You know, Myles even said it himself. He doesn't want to stick around for a rebuild. So, will this be the last game for some of these guys? Well, the short answer, no, absolutely not. The Browns aren't blowing it up, in my opinion, and I'll be making plenty of videos in the off-season about why I think that and why I think they should do that. Now, of course, this doesn't mean every player is safe. Obviously, it's the NFL. Your favourite player still might not be here next year. That's just the nature of the NFL. But when it comes to guys like Myles, Denzel, David, other prime players on this team, the majority, especially Myles, will be back next year. So whilst the final game of the season is always quite somber regardless, don't let it bring you down even more because you're worried, it's the end of the era. It's not. I don't think it is at all. So here we are. It's been a long season, yet it feels like it's gone so quick nonetheless. It's been a disappointing year. There's no understating it. As I've said countless times over the past month, we'll spend plenty of time in the off season looking back at, what went wrong this year. But for now, I encourage all of you that are watching, to take whatever solace that you can find in this final game. Get excited about the prospect of a potential number one pick when you're following the results and, you're following the Patriots game and the Titans game. Don't let people bring you down or call you a loser for it, because at the end of the day, they most likely wouldn't last a week as a Browns fan anyway. You guys do you. Don't let anyone tell you how to fan, and enjoy this game for what it is. We've been here before. We'll get past it. Stronger together. Browns forever. But that will do it for me today, guys. I wanted to keep this one fairly lighthearted, given the circumstance. I can't believe this is my last preview of the 2024 season already. Thank you to every single person who has supported me this season and, decided to take time out of their day to watch this random British bloke talk about a pretty bad football team. It truly does mean the world to me. And, I hope I've done somewhat of a good job in getting you ready for these games. If not, I promise I'll be better next year. As long as the Browns aren't going anywhere, then neither am I. And no, moving to Brook Park does not count. I'm excited for everything that I have planned in the off-season. I really am. Loads of stuff lined up. And I look forward to, navigating the crazy world of the NFL off-season with this community. So please, if you do enjoy my content, then please drop this video a like. hit that subscribe button, join the community. It's free. It really helps out my channel. You can also check the links in the description to see where you can follow and interact with me on social media. I'm trying to build a community of Cleveland Browns fans, and as I always say, even if I only get to talk to one Browns fan a day, I'm happy, because I'm talking Browns football with the best fan base in the world. Thanks again, guys. Have an amazing weekend. Enjoy this game. But most importantly, and as always, go Browns.